I would say go outside the box, but you want to be a bit obscure and think of, if you were coming to me and say, Lavan, I want to be a partner, what do I need to do? I would say,
Hey everyone,
Hello, guys.
welcome to More Than Medics, a podcast where we hear from inspiring individuals who embrace being more than medics and share their incredible career journeys.
For our inaugural episode, our first interviewee really does embody what it means to be more than a medic. Dr. Baskaran is a GP who's explored so many different career opportunities, from being a GP partner, PCN clinical director, and Harley Street GP, to working with industry and even being a ringside boxing doctor.
Dr. Lavan delves into a whole variety of topics that we ourselves found really useful, and we think you will too.
Enjoy.
So, Dr. Lavan, it's a pleasure to have you on. So, I first met you back in April for the Imperial GP conference, is that right?
correct. Yeah, that's right.
Amazing. And for me, I found your talk really awe-inspiring. And I think it was that moment when I realized that I actually recognized your name because you also helped me for my BSc project. And I think for me, what really stood out was, despite your busy schedule, which we can talk about in a bit, you took that time to actually support fellow medics like ourselves. So that really meant a lot. And I thought, who first to have on for our podcast?
Wow.
So yeah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the kind words and giving me the time today. Yeah, I hope, I don't know how helpful I'll be, but hopefully I can inspire. I have had a very interesting journey, a very fortunate, lucky journey as well, with lots of learning all the way across. But yeah, I hope by the end of it, the most important point to realize, and I'll start with it and hopefully end with it as well, is I think, it's a blessing and a privilege to be a medic, to be a doctor. And actually, we should never see it as a negative. And in fact, as a result of being a doctor, you are opened doors and creating networks where you can actually enhance what you do. And in fact, having that medical role, you don't have to jump ship. Being a doctor actually enhances every role you ever do. So whether you go into special interest or private or speak at a conference, you being a GP, you being a doctor, you being a partner, you being a consultant, you can use that to your advantage to then apply.
Yeah, absolutely. No, so yeah, when Yasmin introduced, told me about yourself, she was wonderstruck at everything you did, which is wonderful. And I was like, okay, I need to meet this man. And so, so here we are. No, good. So could you please tell us, you do a lot, what exactly you do, the different sort of roles you take currently?
Yeah, it's probably good timing. I was doing a CV for another role last night, which I actually, for the first time, used AI to help write my CV or edit it. So it was a good opportunity actually to revise what I've done, and it's quite nice to reflect to see what I am. So I guess it's always good to start foundationally, as in where it kind of all started, really. And that's my partnership that I took on when I was 30 years old at James O'Riordan Medical Practice. That's a practice in Sutton, about 10,000 patients. So I took that on from two lovely colleagues who passed that down to me. So that was my first partnership as a GP. And as I assumed, I would just end up doing that for the rest of my life, die at 75 or 80, just doing that. What I didn't realize is you don't have to always just commit to that only. There are lots of other things you can do. So a few years into that, I think it's important for your listeners to know that you need to become good at your trade or your art. There's no point jumping to various things without building confidence. So it was important for me to build on this. So when I joined in 2013, it took about 3-4 years to run the practice, run finances, become confident in accounting, become confident in patient complaints and patients, and of course what we do, bread and butter, which is actually seeing the patients. And then an opportunity came in 2016 where just because I'd locum, because remember, just because you're a GP partner doesn't mean you can't go and locum in another practice or be a salaried. I've got a colleague who's a partner and a salaried, which is a bit bizarre, but I was just locuming just to help out. And a colleague there who was giving up the practice, saying, Lavan, could you take over the practice, because I like the way you work. And I said no initially, because I was like, that's mad, how can you run two practices in two boroughs? But actually a phenomenal practice manager on that side. I said, you know what, let's have a go. What's to lose? Ended up taking that over, so I ended up having two practices, and then interestingly actually took over a third practice, but in the end merged two of them together to just make life easier. Running three practices separately is quite crazy. You have to accept your limits as well, which is an important skill to learn. learn when to say no. But now, yeah, I run the two practices, and I did that pretty much for until about 2020, so about 7-8 years running two practices together. And then what was interesting is by then I'd built up enough confidence, and as COVID came, I thought it was probably time to step into leadership roles, and this is where leadership comes in, where you can be a player. And it was a good time because it's when primary care networks came along. So this is the idea of groups of practices working together, getting funding and bringing on physios, physician associates and things, and running things. And at that time, I then became clinical director, and I have to say there wasn't much of an interview. They were kind of like, "Does anyone want to do it?" And I was like, "Well, I'll do it." And they were like, "Well, you're very experienced. You crack on." And again, that was a learning. I knew how to manage a practice. I knew how to manage two practices, but managing 4 practices and anything else that comes around. So I took on the clinical director role, and then was offered what we call a federation role. Federation is where the whole of all the practices, and this is in the case of Croydon, they kind of nudged me saying, "Could you apply to tick the box to say, but would you love to be part?" And I said, "Yeah, what a lovely thing the impact I would make could potentially affect 500,000 patients. Of course, I'd love to be involved in that." So then I took that on as well, and I managed to do both, because remember, if you're a primary care network clinical director and federation, it's a step up, but you're doing some of the same stuff. So a lot of the meetings and things so you can manage that time together. And then an interesting thing happened where the private thing started to rear. And all my life, or all my time, I always thought private was bad. Like Darth Vader, the evils, don't look at it. It's all away. It's all NHS. And I think that's sad, because in medical school, we are brainwashed to think it's always about NHS. And it is, of course, we have to help our fellow man and help our communities. But remember, we all have mortgages. We all have kids to support. We all have families and holidays. If we're good with holidays, if we're good with gym, we're better at work. So I started to hear and kind of talk about private, and felt I was in a better position. I'd been now coming up to 7, 8, 9 years of being a partner. I knew my trade very well as a GP. Private was coming, but actually just at the same time, drug companies were getting in touch with me. I'd started doing some project work on my own back, and it was being noticed. People like AstraZeneca, Novo Nordisk were seeing some of the work I was doing. I was doing it off my own back, but then what I found is they were reaching out to me and saying, "Look, we love what you're doing. Can you talk on a local meeting? Can you?" So started to get local meetings. That went quite well. And then I've always been quite confident with public speaking. And then they said, "Look, can you speak on a more local level where, all of London and things?" And eventually I became national speaker for some of the companies. So I speak nationally on diabetes and chronic kidney disease. But that was a nice journey up. And then the private thing really started to show, where one of my colleagues, who's a child and adolescent mental health consultant doing ADHD work, was like, "Lavan, you're doing great on the nutrition side, sleep, exercise, diet, and your general GP stuff. I need someone to work alongside me because my poor ADHD patients are not optimizing their health. Can we work together?" Started to get involved with that. So that private ADHD world started to build. And of course, we see celebrities and sports stars, so they would want a GP to see them for their general GP stuff. They were coming through to me, and then I was getting involved with the weight loss, the Ozempic, that kind of stuff, because they wanted a reliable doctor to manage them. And then my GP private practice started to take off, and now I'm in the position where I've got quite a few private patients that I want to give good care for, and I can't do it on my own. I have to accept my limit. And so I've teamed up with 2 other guys, very wonderful doctors, who I think as a 3 we're going to we've just set up. We've got CQC approved for a group practice. So the evolution was starting just with 1 practice and thinking that's all there is to it. And as a result, the double practice, and then the leadership roles in those areas, and then the private practice with drug company work, it all kind of expanded as a result of it. And now, you get these little buzzers. So just very recently, a couple of weeks back, Cardiff University, they work alongside a group called Learner, a postgraduate postgraduate training place where they give degrees, and that's a postgraduate university. They've actually got in touch and said, could I be kind of their medical writer, create content for them? So what you find is you don't have to jump any ship. I haven't left my base. I'm still a GP. I've been doing my GP work this morning. I still do 5 days of GP and fit in everything else I can around it. You can still do it. Yes, there are times of squeeze and stress, but you can have it all, and you can have a very fulfilling life where you still fit in gym, still look after your kids, still drop off your kids, still go on lovely holidays. But you can find things to not only supplement income, but also expand yourself, where you're going to, well, I was in Vegas 9 weeks ago, skilling up on functional medicine and gut health. You can then come back and do sleep medicine in London. You can then do a talk. So I guess the summary is, don't let anyone stop you. People said you couldn't do YouTube. I did social media and gained, 3,000 subscribers from that without working too hard on that. You can do whatever you want, whether it's social media work or work, but there are certain skills you need. Public health, probably, sorry, public health, public speaking, maybe sometimes, connections, network, being open, willing. Me offering my time for you guys, I always up to do it, because I never know, one of you guys could become health secretary one day and think of me and thinking, oh, Lavan gave some time up. So always make the networks, don't burn bridges, and have the confidence to skill up and become a better doctor as you can.
Amazing advice. A lot to digest there. Could we start with maybe you taking up becoming a GP partner, and obviously taking this clinical director role as part of your PCM? Firstly, what actually is it mean to be a GP partner for a lot of med students out there? I think that maybe we don't quite know. And sort of, how would you advise a med student to maybe try to, take the relevant steps to become one?
Yeah, good, very good question. I think, we forget that sometimes. I was fortunate that dad was a GP, so I kind of knew his world. And one thing I gained for that, I mean, I was in consultations with him when I was 8, 9 years old, going on home visits. In fact, it's the home visits that inspired me to become a GP. So I kind of saw that world. But what I always remember of dad is, he was the boss. He had control. If he had to drop me at GCSE exams, doesn't matter what was going on, he dropped me there. And I wanted that. I hated the fact, I know when I was on my verge, when I was doing my MRCP, so there's the physician exams to become a consultant, I was doing that in my F2, and I still remember to this day, it was my best friend's wedding in Scotland, and I couldn't attend because I could have said, well, I'll just pull a sickie and not turn up to work, but I didn't want to do that as well. And I felt, wow, I worked really hard. I'm doing all the on-calls, but I was rejected of my leave well in advance, 6 months in advance, to be at my best friend's wedding. And I always thought from that day, and it sounds quite traumatic, but I never wanted any situation to do that. So the beauty about being a GP, obviously we have all the benefits, you see patients in the community, but the partner aspect is the control you have and the impact you can have. So, respectfully, if I need to take tomorrow off, I will take it off. It's no issue. Yes, you are the partners, you have to formulate a group, but when I became a partner, my 70 and 75-year-old partner told me, Lavan, you will be able to run this your whole way. You bring your friends and family along, it's okay. And so it's important to find a group of people, because it is like a marriage. So partnership, be very careful. I have had fallout once, many 5, 6 years ago, where I fell out with the partner, with the other partners. That can be quite difficult. But if you do find the good, right partners, you can be in a position where you can drop off your kids on a Friday and your partner's going to cover the fort till you get on a call. You then cover on a different day. You can make arrangements. So partnership really works as a business. I think for your listeners is important to realize we are our own entities. Each GP practice earns different income depending on the list size, depending on how many colleagues they have, depending on how many immunizations you do, how many special interest clinics you do. So many factors are involved. And yes, you've got to always provide care. That's always your number one. But by providing the care, you can then create a system where you're bringing income to the point, if you're very money hungry and you don't care about patient, in the eventual sense, you will actually lose the practice, because you need the patient and provide good care. But you can have the best of both worlds, where you can provide good care and still get all the benefits of a financial. So, we're in a very nice position in my Sutton practice, where we're finally in a stable situation. We're now bringing on junior doctors to help do some of our work for us. That doesn't mean I go off on the golf course or whatever it is that doctors do. I can actually use that time to then find another way to either build more income or for the practice, or actually find a way where I can get more special interests in. So a GP partner is almost like you're in a little business, you're married to your partners in a way, and you want to provide the best care. And by doing that best care, you want to then provide good setup for your staff who work for you, so they don't want to leave. You also want to find a nice environment that you can teach your junior colleagues, so they thrive and want to potentially take your place or support you. And of course, obviously, have a good reputation amongst, drug companies, colleagues, GPs, consultants around the area.
What I found interesting is when you first initially started to speak about your journey, you didn't refer to your partner role as a leadership role. You first mentioned your partner role, and then you said, I wanted to take up leadership roles.
Yeah.
What made you have that distinction?
Yeah, I think, it's only because I almost feel my partnership is like a friendship, or like it's part of me. It's, if you attack my practice, James Arida Medical Practice or Addington Medical, you're attacking me. Yes, you could argue on an outside level, and you are a leader. I mean, I'm a leader at home with my wife, and my wife are leaders at home. On a microscopic level, certainly I'm leadership role in so many areas. I mentor social prescribe as a leader, but actually in certain areas where it's like home, it's part of me. So it's like if anyone were to attack, if CQC were to come and attack my practice, I would, fiercely attack as if it was someone attacking my family. So that's how I feel. That's why I don't feel I'm a leader there. I know I'm looked up to as a leader there. I know my colleagues frequently, "Oh, Lavan, your senior partner, can you sign?" I find that quite embarrassing calling myself senior partner because I don't like to think I'm old. And just because in my partnership, I'm 41 and everyone else is like 40, 39. They're not too far off. But I know I've been there longer, and I know there's a level of wisdom that you pick up and confidence that you pick up. But yeah, I feel it's like my home. So I don't feel it's a leader. Whereas actually in other areas, there is an element of confidence and show and showing myself, as it were. So, I'm in my federation role as a GP director. I'm head of digital in Croydon. I'm not assessed because a lot of people trust me and they like me, but a lot of the time is where I still have to bring my A game there. I need to be on form. I've got a board meeting tomorrow. I will look through my notes today and say, oh, look, what am I doing on digital? Almost not perform, but kind of say, yep, this is what I'm doing. I need to prove. There's an element of proof, that hence why I'm a lead and show. In my work, not that I don't respect it, but I could walk in my pajamas and say, look, I'm in today, I'm going to do, so it feels more family, homely, which is why I don't see it as a leadership role, but I can certainly see how others would see it like that.
I love that perspective, that you see that as that collaboration between yourself and the other partners as that friendship. And I guess if you view work as your home, somewhere that's comfortable, somewhere that you enjoy, you don't see then what kind of role it is. It's a leadership role. You actually just see it as something that's kind of part of you, as part of your everyday job that you do with others. So I think that's really lovely. When it comes to your partner role, were there any skills that you think really benefited you in that role, having those skills? And did you need to know any knowledge beforehand? So for example, you mentioned accounting knowledge, financial knowledge. Did you need to know that before you took on the role?
So I was in a fortunate time where, I mean, if you think there was a 75-year-old and 70-year-old, there probably wasn't much I needed to do because they were not in a dinosaur phase, but, they were kind of old school. So I didn't, anything I provided, any kind of margin knowledge was good enough. But in this day and age, I would say, looking at AI, I'm not saying go and do a master's in it or go and do an MBA, but if it's something that you're interested in, have a go and do it. I think the number one thing you will find now, even when I said I went to Vegas, 9 weeks ago, I was blown away by knowledge and jotting notes. I still get excited about conferences. I'm speaking for AstraZeneca best practice in Birmingham in a couple of weeks, but more than me talking, because I know how to do that, and I've done the presentation numerous times, I'm looking forward to going early to go to the other stalls, the other lectures. Learning is the most important thing. Learning about AI, learning about even randomly about accounting or how finances are done, learning immunization's impact, learning a special interest that's going to skill up. These are all important things. So when you say what kind of extra things you'd need, I would say go outside the box. Realistically, accounting, leadership and all that, you kind of will learn on the job, and you've got an accountant for that. You can see mentors for that, but you want to be a bit obscure and think of what course can I go on that brings extra income? What course can I go that makes me a trainer that supervises junior doctors? What course can I go that links up with medical students at Imperial College or St. George's that's going to do this? So I would say, if you were coming to me and say, Lavan, I want to be a partner, what do I need to do? I would say be outside of everyone else. Everyone's got a BSc or got a master's, or everyone's got a degree in medicine. Everyone's done their basic training in breast surgery or whatever. You want to stand out. Have you got a special interest that you can do? Oh, Lavan, I do, diabetes, but I do the insulin prescribing. I do a Ozempic weight loss medication. I do needle injections into the spine. I don't know if anyone does this, but just say they did. I'll be paying you double whatever you want, because I want you on the team, not because of money. I don't care how much money we lose, because it's a wonderful service to offer to patients. CQC are going to tick the box and think we're great because we're thinking outside the box. So going in, you've got to be able to stand out and do something very. If you came in and go, Lavan, I did a master's in AI, or I did a diploma in AI, I'll take you on today. The reason is I just started to learn how to use this ChatGPT stuff, even though I'm head of digital in Croydon, but I'm mind blown. You know, if in 7 minutes my CV from 2020 could be updated in 7 minutes, just with a few adjustments, there's something there. So if you come along and you go, right, Lavan, I'm going to get in touch with this company, and we're going to bring this company along because of my AI experience, I can get a robot to clear our normal blood test results today. So you don't have to do 700 a month. You only have to do 100. I'll pay you any money you want. So it's that kind of mindset to have, think outside the box.
Wonderful. And let's talk now a little bit about actually how you've sort of how you do work in the private sector. And you said how it's sort of like almost alien to us as NHS doctors and medical students. And it almost seems like a, you know, extraterrestrial planet to us at this point, and especially to us as med students. How would you advise medical students to sort of seek out opportunities within sort of as you work in the pharmaceutical industry or in consulting? How would they sort of seek out those roles and get involved?
Yeah, good question. I guess, again, back to that first point about having a skill or going into areas that are unusual, because actually ADHD, a GP with a special interest is very niche. I don't know many people who do it. Me and my partner, Dr. Thurman, I think we do it very well, but I bring in that angle of gut health, nutrition, you know, all that bit. No one else is doing that. And most consultants would just say, take the, you know, Concerta, take your Elvance day in, day out. So you want to have that kind of spin of what are you doing that's different, that's going to bring it in, because actually private, there will be a niche for it somewhere. You just won't know where. Get a LinkedIn network. I'm not sponsored by LinkedIn, but the number of opportunities you won't believe. Even today, I think 4 people DM'd me. Lavan, I work for this company. Yesterday, I had a phone call with someone on Harley Street. We work with high net individuals, whatever that means. I guess loads of money. We need someone like you who works on our team. Well, that's like a job interview, but without really trying. People see your profile. So updating your profile, the little spiel you do, any publishing that you've done, any network connections you have, that is like your CV that's available to everyone. And just by playing around with words, I don't know the algorithms, but I seem to think that what I've written actually seems to resonate with people. And that's why people get it. So you need to be exposed and you need to put yourself out there. So that means if you're attending a conference in Birmingham, you never know, there's going to be someone in Birmingham who's going to think. I took a job. I was in Ibiza on a holiday. This is a true story. There was 2 girls and a guy at the back and didn't talk to us the whole time. Everyone's drinking and having fun. At the end, for some reason, we walked past them and ended up having a chat. They own a, you know, for sports events, they provide the paramedic ambulance teams for it. And they don't have a doctor because every doctor's charging them $7,000 for the signing off their papers. And I was like, well, I don't need the money. So I'll do it, you know, whatever you want. And they were like, why would you do it for such a low price? And I said, well, I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing it for connection. I hope because I meet you now and I'm charging you 20 times less that you will think of me the next time a bigger project comes. They've now merged with a bigger company. Now bigger finances are in play. They're reaching out to me for help. And they're going to pay good money. So it's like that. You've just got to be patient. You shouldn't be a carpet, a rug for it, but you've got to be very open to listening to people. So get to conferences, get to various areas, talk openly, get a LinkedIn network, and get some niche work, ADHD or diabetes or family planning or ops and gynae. Have something that's a little bit unique and then just in the nicest way, be patient, build up your skill as an NHS doctor, because remember that point about confidence. And then I guarantee little opportunities will flutter through. Oh, you're in LinkedIn. I understand you're doing a course in America. You know, go to America if you can, or go somewhere else. In America, that's a bit odd. Why would you go to America? What a lovely talk about. Well, I'm going to America because I want to be a functional medicine practitioner. What's a functional medicine? We do with gut health. We take samples of hair, check for lead poisoning because that can impact autism. Oh, wow. That's fucking, all of this has come. So definitely think outside the box, because a lot of the usual stuffs are getting a bit, you know, weight loss medication, for example, is getting a bit used up. Not everyone's going to be going into that now. But if you can be like the person that educates the people to try to avoid taking medication for weight loss, that could be your avenue in.
Amazing. I really do like your idea of sort of investing in just a connection, even if there's no financial or any sort of reward connected to it. I think that, as you've shown, that's a reward in itself, and that can grow into something quite quite amazing. The boxing gig, I do like that. That's really nice. So you also do things like, am I right in saying you do some teaching at different medical schools? You're a charity advisor, is that correct? And obviously, you know, you have all your socials, your YouTube and things. How do you juggle it all? I mean, you did say, you know, it's you have to say yes to everything. It's good to, you know, uh, do a lot of different things, have a portfolio career, etc. But surely there is a point in time where, you know, you have to say, right, I need to, you know, limit this in order to do more of this. How does your sort of hierarchy of value or meaning come into this?
Yeah, I mean, you're probably too young to have children. I think children is the game change for me. That's my barometer. If I feel or the kids feel I'm not present or I'm not there when I'm there, or I'm not spending enough time attending their lessons or taking them to cello, that's where I know something's got to give. And there's been times where that has happened. So good example, and a very powerful example is like YouTube and my Instagram. I think I was on 15,000 followers at one point, posting 2-3 times a week. It's a lot of effort. The guy I was working with would come to the surgery at 11. We've got to do another video on this, and I was just like, oh bloody hell, I'm midway through surgery, and it was enjoyable. And you know, I spent a lot of time and effort and potentially money during that time, obviously creating the content and stuff, but was it beneficial? Absolutely. You know, the connections I made as a result of that. People just assume you're this amazing doctor if you work on Harley Street and have YouTube followers. It's not the case. I'm an average doctor, but it's because of the illusion of that, and you have to work to that benefit. So yes, if you look at now my YouTube and my Instagram, I haven't probably posted in ages, and I haven't done a video. Will I just destroy it? Probably not, because you never know when it reopens again. You know, I may have a bit of time next year, suddenly get very passionate. I'm very honest about kind of, you know, I'm not happy about what's happening in the social media world in terms of negativity. People are just insulting people left, right, and centre. I think it's sad. I can tolerate, I've got very thick skin, but I don't want the even micro stress of that. So if someone says, oh, Lavan, you talked about omega-3 and how it benefits ADHD, where's the research? It's rubbish. And well, no, I do know the research because I actually teach that to patients on a private scale. But the effort of trying to respond, and then if you don't respond, so that felt like a lot of work. It wasn't the actual content creation. So I took a bit of a break of that. And I have to say, you know, mental health wise, and I actually feel better over it. Am I missing it? There are times I sometimes think, oh, you know, it'd be nice to kind of show off some of the stuff I'm doing more, because I want to people like yourselves to be inspired. Lavan's doing the 50 billion things in a day. I want you guys to say, not that Lavan's great, but wow, a person can do that. I want to do what Lavan's doing, because a lot of the time people like yourselves don't see that. They just see probably an average GP sitting there, going in, doing their thing, doing their home visits, coming home, no drive to get a bigger income, no want to improve on themselves, going to the gym first or eating well, all these bits. So I put that aside. But the other bits, if you think, especially some of the leadership roles, my charity work especially, when I'm a medical advisor, it's if someone's sick in Zambia or Kenya, I get a call saying they're worried about this. Any advice on this? Yeah, of course you can do this. I do it for free. People say, well, Lavan, that's stupid. You know, you could earn whatever. But no, that's a fulfilling part of me. My 40th birthday, when I turned 40, was actually going and building a playground and nursery in Kenya, which at the time was the most fulfilling thing that I've ever done in my life. I went with a team of 7, 3 from the practice, my cousin, another friend. So many benefits came of that. One of the guys is a GP better than me, even if you want another person, he's the guy. Jan from East London, truly inspirational. He's my role model. Taking over 5, 6 practices, not in an aggressive way, just as he's going to make them great. I was there. I learned from him so much how he runs things. But as a result, because of my connection becoming medical advisor, that charity has contacted me going, there's a project potentially where a bank would fund 1.3 million, and I would be on the board of that to absolutely game change the platform of Kenya in terms of education, and I'll be a part of that. What a privilege to be part of, just by building a nursery or making a nursery or making a playground, as it were, which at the time people are loving. You're going all the way for your 40th to build a random playground. It's like, well, no, there's other bits to it, you know, stimulation of light and color and things, but fulfilling and nice to live in a difficult environment with poor shower and poor things. But it was lovely to do and I loved it. But what a magical thing that actually 2-3 years down the line, this has led to a 1.3 million pound project that when that goes in, I can go to Kenya, see what it does to education. In 10 years' time, I can look back going, just from one small thing, something beautiful was created.
I think that really shows that, you know, just by helping without any personal gain, the impact that you can have, not only just on a personal level, but on a systemic level, just like that project there, is truly inspiring. And you actually mentioned that you know, for example, your friend was your kind of mentor, was your inspiration. Did you have any other mentors, you know, as you're going through the medical career that really inspired you? And what did you learn from those mentors?
Yeah, I have to say, a lot of the doctors I met during medical school, one thing I was talking to my partner about this today, Kevin, my partner in James Reid, and we don't talk about income. We don't talk about mortgages, accounts, in getting better. I don't want to know a person's income because I'm jealous. I want to know is can I also build on that? I'll tell you all my income. Well, you can ask me anything about income mortgages because I want you to know, because then you can say, oh, Lavan, is that how much? Okay, then maybe I'll spend a bit more time on speaking to farmer. Or Lavan, you earn in that in ADHD. Well, maybe because I'll give you rough figures if for your listeners, for a 14-day or 12-day partnership day, I earn that in 3 hours doing ADHD work. I earn it in 40 minutes doing farmer work. That's the reality of it. So when people say, I'm done with NHS because I'm broken, they're treating me like rubbish, I'm working hours, I don't get enough pay, I sympathize. There's no human who should suffer that. And sadly, that is the state of the NHS. So the way to stay, and I want all you guys to stay because I want someone to look after me when I get old, is I don't want you to jump to Dubai, even though they'll offer you 3 times the income, or Australia where you'll jog to work every morning. I want you to stay because you can make it wonderful where the home you go into, the practice going can be your best friends, where you're high-fiving and you're saying, I'll take 5,000 out the account today because I can't pay for next month's, whatever tuition fees. Is that cool? Yep, fine, done. Take the money. You can be very flexible because they are your friends. It's the same bank. So if you can create that environment and you're stable in that environment, you can then start adding these extra wings to your kind of your hat, as it were, these extra feathers to your hat. So I think it's very, very much important that actually you can make the best of it here. And actually, when it comes to discussions and speaking to people, when you talk about mentors, I was disappointed that, not that it would have changed my trajectory, but I wish, certain consultants were open about either income or work hours. I didn't know about this stuff. And so in terms of inspiration, obviously I had dad there, which I knew he always prioritized family, and that was always going to happen to me, whatever job I did. I'm not respectfully that selfless. I admire my obs and gynae colleagues, my pediatric colleagues. Poor things have to stay overnight as a consultant. I don't think I have the care. Maybe there was one point I did, but my kids are the most important thing. But what you can do is you don't feel guilty. I can still provide a wonderful service for humanity or community on leadership roles on a big scale, but also on a community scale as well. So dad being one, but also the partners, who gave me my job, Dr. Ryan, Dr. Jeffco. When I started, the first patient I saw said, Dr. Baskaran, I've heard great things about you, but you didn't come and see me when I was in hospital. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, well, I was in hospital and you didn't come to the ward. I was like, I'm your GP. Why would I? He goes, well, Dr. Jeffcott used to do that. So GPs in the old days would go into the hospital and see their patients there to see if they're all right. Dr. Jeffcott used to deliver patients in the home. Dr. Jeffcott would be there as an emergency. So that was the wonder of it. So I wanted to maintain that. So I had very good role models there. And then what I accepted was, it's one thing trying to be a great doctor, fulfilling yourself, being a good person. But remember, you need to survive. You'll get burnt out if you just do that. Hence why you have to then realize your worth. And yes, Dr. Thever, my colleague who pays me for my ADHD work, was part of that journey. But the biggest part was pharma industry. When they said the kind of money they would give you, a whole day's worth of partnership in 40 minutes, or once I did it for 10 minutes, I spoke for 10 minutes, and that was how much they valued me. They know how powerful, because I'm a trustworthy clinician, they know how powerful my voice is, but they value my time. Every meeting I have with them, Lavan, yeah, that's a 1 hour meeting. Now we have to pay you. In the NHS, you do 16, 20, 100, 200 hours for free. I'll go in. I used to go, and I don't do this anymore because I know my limits, but I used to go in on Sundays, evenings. I'd go after work now, go back to the surgery, open the surgery door, go in, clear blood test results. Doesn't happen anymore because I know my limit. The NHS, I'll do everything I can for it in the hours I'm there, and a bit more, but you need to have systems in place to help. If that means getting a robot, which I pay for now to file my normal blood test results, if it means getting industry to work with to bring chronic kidney disease, diabetes, COPD, asthma clinics in, where they will do that work for me, I'll let them do that, because I need to leave what's left, and then I can be better. I can do my blood pressure better. I can do my diabetic patients better. I can do my cancers patients better. So yes, the future of my mentorship has gone into more people who are more inspiring, where not their drive is money, because I see how wonderful they are with patients, but they know cleverly how to bring in extra income, because if they're happier where they can take a day off now rather than work 5 days, they work 4 days. Trust me, those 4 days, when they come in, they're on fire. They produce 20 days worth of work than an average GP would do. So that's how it's moved my inspirations.
I think that's really, really good learning about understanding your worth, and also how you can actually just craft your own career to make it fulfilling, so you don't get to that stage where you're burnt out. Because as we know, we've seen in the press, there are so many medics out there who are getting to that stage, and actually realizing that you can take more of that control, and do, like you said, have those other systems in place, so you are actually enjoying your work, your clinical work, as well as your other interests, and putting that to have a more fulfilling career, like you said. One thing I wanted to ask was, you mentioned confidence, and sometimes some medics, confidence doesn't come as naturally to them. So what advice would you have for a medic who wants to kind of move out of the conveyor belt of medicine and explore those diverse career opportunities, but maybe kind of lacks that confidence, or maybe lacks those networking skills? What advice would you give them?
I mean, if you think about confidence, I mean, I'd be honest, at UCL, when I was there, it was a bit of a joke at that time. You didn't really have to turn up for anything. And I can hand on heart say I didn't. I feel embarrassed. I look back now going, I wish I had turned up, because it was a privilege to be at UCL and things. But, when I became a junior doctor, I was rubbish. I have to be honest. I'm really scared. I wasn't doing ABGs. I was getting someone else to do it. I was very useless. But my exponential, drive, within 4 weeks, I was on it. I was extra hours in, coming on days I didn't need to, because I really enjoyed the job. I loved being a doctor at that first stage. So confidence always comes by doing things over and over again. There's no question. So if you see me, say, for example, do a neurological exam, I was absolutely useless at finals in exams. I would, do I do eyes or ears, or that genuinely was what I was like. If you see me now, I'd like to think I'm pretty slick, because I do it over and over again. Even if a child is just marginally concerned about a minor head injury, you don't need a cranial nerve. I do a cranial nerve, because remember, it gives reassurance to the mother. When I go into ADHD assessments, when they come and see me in Harley Street, I do a full neuro chest exam, cardiovascular exam. I do it all because it's partly a show, in the sense of I want to show them, look, I'm looking at your child properly and holistically, but also it keeps my skill up. I'm constantly doing it. So really, really important to keep doing whatever you are doing. So if there is something you're lacking, as long as you know you're doing it in the right way, keep doing, because eventually, like my diabetes talks, for example, for AstraZeneca, I can do it with my eyes closed, because I've done it so many times. I'm not worried about a challenge of a question. Similar when it comes to ADHD. So do whatever you can do it. And then there is these softer skills or other skills that you need. And public speaking is one thing that I was fortunate that parents had put me through, various, whatever it is, LAMDA or speech and drama or elocution. But if you're someone who hasn't had that wonderful opportunity, it doesn't matter. You can still learn parts of it later. There are courses on how you look at people, on what you look at. Do you look at their forehead? If you look at someone's eye, how to interact. It's worth investing. Find a really nice, and don't go into these rubbish, someone there for a quick buck who just says, we'll do it quickly online and charge you 100 quid. Go somewhere, make a day of it. Go to Cardiff, spend the night, go with a friend, go and pay a decent amount of money, save a bit of money and go there. Do it properly. Try and get a qualification out of it. Or if you're at least there, speak to it and see what they do. And is there a second part? I'm quite interested in this. And get feedback. Oh, look, you're a bit weaker, because I could tell you a little bit, but actually it's those people who are actors who do this day in, day out. Okay, next time you get a bit nervous, you look down, put your finger in your hand and do it. They'll tell you little ways. And trust me, that money and investment in yourself will make a difference. Confidence in terms of how you look and how you are. People say, oh, vain and all that. I can tell you now, even just going to the gym more, whether you look good or bad, you feel better in yourself. So when you're speaking publicly or you're talking, if you've gone to the gym the last 6 weeks and eaten well and slept well, you will feel better in yourself. These kind of small new, this kind of this idea that people kind of say is wishy-washy and it's all Gen Z and all that rubbish. It's true. If you really invest in yourself in courses, and it can be very wide on that area, where it's even just the way you dress. I wear waistcoat and tie when I'm speaking publicly. So today when I did the Sutton, I could come in my scrubs, I can come in an average shirt, but actually when you're in front of other doctors and nurses, there's something they think you are. When I go to Harley Street, I never ever go without a tie to Harley Street. You can imagine the clientele you deal with there. As soon as they walk into the room, being Asian as well, there's probably going to be a slight negative aspect there where they think, oh, I'm in this country, I want to see a white doctor. Maybe they're not all like that, but I want to give them that impression straight away. As soon as I open my mouth, I'm speaking clearly, I'm explaining things well, and I go over and above. A lot of my private work, I know when I've gone over to a home visit, when I've seen a person privately, I'll go in there thinking it's going to be £100, £200 gig, as it were. I walk out with 1.2K. in the space of an hour. The reason I do that is because they see how I'm with that patient, and everyone else in that family says, oh, I want a bit of that. Can you do that full exam for me? Well, unfortunately, there's a chart. Well, I don't care about that charge because these are well-to-do people. So I think a lot of this is about the confidence you build, like I said, about the get good at your art. So if it's basic medicine, get good. I didn't have to do my MRCP part 1 or part 2, my written exams. My MRCGP I had to. People say, you laugh at me, why did you do it? I did it because I wanted to have all the knowledge that a consultant would have when it comes to medicine. People said, why did you do ATLS, the trauma course in New York? Doing it in Harlem Hospital with my partner Kevin, who's with me now, we did it there because we thought, let's be different. We went and learned about the culture, the Harlem culture. We then did the course, got the qualification, met some fantastic people, saw gunshot wounds, which I haven't seen in this country. So really find what these niche areas are. And what I'd say is don't just stop at the limit. If it's a speech and drama or something, or the way you talk, or the way you communicate, or the way you take telephone consultations, find the most obscure place in the middle of Scotland or France or America or somewhere, and make it enjoyable so that it's memorable. Because remember, if you do something uniquely, you will remember it more. The gut health stuff I learned from Vegas, I will remember that for the rest of my life, because I remember certain lecturers and places I was with in the Bellagio Hotel, which made it a difference to remember.
Amazing. Do you think, I have a little question following on from what we were saying earlier. Do you think, obviously you're a GP, do you think other specialities can lead such a varied sort of portfolio career, or is it, I mean, realistically speaking, limited to, you know, GPs? What would you say to that?
Yeah, I have to say the most versatile will be us. It will always be the GPs, because remember, it's your business. You don't, you know, I know consultants now that still have to send a message to their receptionist, whoever it is, 6 months, I'm going to take this leave, or I can do this. You've got to cancel these clinics and do that. So can you do it in hospital? Yes, you definitely can. You know, I've got a colleague, Anthony Joshua's doctor in the boxing ring, which was, I say, Sandwiches. He's my friend. He's one of my best friends from medical school. He's an anaesthetist. So he's a consultant anaesthetist. He's Anthony Joshua's boxer. He's part of the British Boxing Federation thing. He has another few other, I think, Cromwell Hospital. He's a wonderful, and he can do it as well. But you know, is it as versatile or wide as mine? Probably not. Is he more accountable for certain things? Yes, he is. Can he be a bit trickier sometimes to manage time? Is he working more hours past the hours that he needs? He gets calls at 3 in the morning for the ambulance service and things. So I think it can be done, probably not on the same scale as how a GP would do it. But remember, they also get offered, you know, consultancy roles or consulting on a certain project or topic in areas. I like to think with my portfolio, I've got a lot of things going on, and I'm constantly building. Yesterday, I did that, you know, CV online, and I got a job agreement straight away this morning, which was lovely. That's another thing to add on. Again, I'll fit that in somewhere where I find time, but it can be done. And I think, because when you're a GP, you have control, where if I then say Thursdays and Fridays, I want to just drop that, I don't have to explain to anyone. My partners will say, yep, Lavan, we'll get either locum to cover you if you're going to come back soon, or I will take on the extra shift, or, you know, it'll be done. Whereas with a consultant, I know it's a lot of, you can't just drop from 5 days to 4 days to 3 days. Sometimes it's difficult. If you want to do private, there's that still negative thing there that, well, no, you need to do 3 days of NHS and do 2 days of private. So I think in answer to your question, the versatile or the wide range can only be done in general practice, but you can still do elements of it in other aspects of medicine.
You know, I really do like that. I mean, to be honest, becoming a GP wasn't really like on my radar as such. But, you know, when Yasmin told me about you and everything you do, and now talking to you as well, it does seem a lot more attractive in the way that it's, at least personally for me, I do quite like sort of variety in what I do. I'm a bit distracted, to be honest, which is maybe a weakness, but I do like variety. And I think from what you say as well, it does seem like becoming a GP could cater to that. No, yeah, thank you for that. And also, just based on everything you do, what do you think is your underlying sort of almost baseline like motivation to do everything that you do? And I guess leading on from that, for medical students now that are maybe slightly disillusioned, disenchanted, maybe for some reason whatsoever, maybe not as inspired as they could be, what would you say to them to maybe help them push forward in a way?
So I think the bottom line is selfishly, and I didn't realize this because I'd like to think I was a selfless person. I'm not saying I'm selfish now, but it's about you. It's the fulfillment of your life. No one else does that. You know how to make your life better. Even if your wife is giving you a headache, or your sister, or your mom, your dad, or friends, it's how you react to that situation. So actually, it's how your mindset is. So if you can mold this wonderful life where your day is filled with colorful things, where doing a bit of this, doing a bit of that, and it keeps you buzzing and inspired, that is the key. That's the dream. That's where you want to be at. And for those colleagues or medical students who are just wondering, gosh, sounds like nonsense. Labour's now coming. Are they going to make a difference? I tell you, being a doctor from this country, getting the qualification of this country, it's a phenomenal achievement. You go to Canada, walk into a job. You go to Australia, you walk into a job. You go to Dubai, you'll walk in and get a swimming pool when you go in for a job. That's how much they want you. Saudi Arabia is flying very soon. I guarantee you'll be 5, 10 times your income instead, if you want to go. But what I'm saying is you need to firstly value yourself, value where you are. You are in a privileged position. My advice is, if you can do your foundation 1 and 2 years, try and do it here. Really get that final stamp of a doctor. Because remember, you could do very well as a book smart kid, but actually you may not be good practically as a doctor and communication skill. But those first 2 years are very important to mold you. And then it just sets you on this journey. And then at that stage, do reflect. You never know. Actually, Saudi or Australia may be looking more attractive. And if you do it, go out for a bit. Do some wildlife medicine or outback medicine in Australia. I'm not stopping. I would say encourage you to go for a year or two. But remember, here it's all about all the connections that you have, the environment. Yes, it rains most of the time, but I've got a friend who works in Dubai who says she misses grass and the smell of air, good normal air. You don't realize this when you go over to these countries. You go to Australia and your family gets sick. How quickly are you going to get back in time? There's an issue there. Canada, they'll put you in the sticks. It's great, you can take blood in the middle of a village, but there's a bear there and you don't see anyone. I'm just painting a vague picture, but I had all these opportunities. I was given a qualification in Canada to go. In the end, I decided not to. They were offering 300,000 at the time. I was earning 100,000 a year. They offered me 300,000 as a junior. I think I was like 24 at the time. Should have gone for it, but I didn't. But all of these things I found, because I spent and invested time in my trade here, got the confidence, got my special interests, got all the conferences, got all the skills here. I've now created this world where I can't think of any other. My wife is pushing me to try Australia, Dubai, but I'm saying, people say the grass is greener. I don't think it is. I've invested enough water and air and time in my grass, and I'm very fulfilled and happy. Yes, of course, we all get rubbish days. I'm going through a bit of a rough week at the moment because I've, like we were discussing, taken a little bit too on, where if I know I'm working a bit later, we're just, like I said, doing that CV. I don't really want to do a CV in the night. I'd rather do it my work day, but I'm busy with work day. Yes, there's those little barometers, and you fall off the horse a bit. You're probably not at the gym as much this week. You're not eating as well. As a result, you sleep. And then there's these little things, but be kind to yourself. You've got to be good to yourself. Right off this week, go and have a McDonald's if you want. Yes, I know it's not great, but actually for the one-off, I haven't had it for about a year. Have a McDonald's. Who cares? Treat yourself. Get it out your system. Have a whiskey. Enjoy the night, and then just get through the week. Have a weekend break, chill out, go spa or whatever it is, go to the gym. And then Monday, just say, look, I need to be back on form, get my things in order. But I think we're in wonderful country. As much as the state of the NHS is appalling, as much as taxes are going up, as much as things are in a difficult way, so polarized, people aren't communicating, network is dying, the fabric of our society is gone without connections between churches, temples, and mosques. All of that is all gone, but you can still create a lovely place for yourself in your own home, in your own family. You can create a wonderful place in your practice or hospital or work setting. And once you're willing to then have the energy to then look and be open-minded, you will then grab every opportunity available, and then just know at each time, what is my value? Should I do this privately every day? Yes, I would earn a killing. I could drive a Ferrari, but I have to sit at a screen and do private on my own patients every day. That's not fulfilling. But actually, how can I play that? If I do that a couple of days a week, it will then supplement my income to then have lovely holidays, which then means that I can focus on my NHS work, and that's not paying as well. But actually, it doesn't matter because I love seeing my partners at work when we high five and have lunch together.
Yeah, I think from that, it just really shows the importance of having that balance. Like you said, you can have your good days and your bad days, even with that diverse career, but you need to have that balance, know when to take that time out, know when to say yes, know when to say no to opportunities, and actually look at your values, your priorities, and base your career around that. So you're, like you said, you're creating then that fulfilling career where it's focused on that connection with people, connection with your colleagues, connection with family, friends, whatever your other priorities are. And that allows you also, I guess, to have then that positive mindset when you're coming into work every day. I think that's really good advice for the medics. Just to kind of summarize this interview, I wanted to ask, where do you see the future of general practice? And I guess, how do you see the medical field evolving to allow for these medics like yourself to have these diverse careers? And what kind of new opportunities are on the horizon from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I'm never a pessimist. I always have to think optimistically, and it's a difficult time. Don't get me wrong. You know, referrals aren't going the way they used to. We can't get people seen in hospital. It's then impacting patient care. They're not seeing us as well as we used to. So I could start and say, yeah, it's all kind of rubbish. But when times of stress occur, I know in all my times of my career, when things got harder, opportunities then arose, and then you fly as a result. And just like that, when Dad was, or is a GP, sorry, you know, just before Blair came into power in 2001, I think it was, general practice and hospitals were on their knees. You know, 16-hour waiting in A&E, and general practice, everyone wanted to leave. Blair comes in and game changes the whole atmosphere, where GP partners are now very lucrative. They don't have to work weekends after 6:30. Hospital waiting lists go down. You know, so I'm expecting a change of the wave at some point. But I think, you know, from our side, I think, you know, I always find, sit tight, ride the wave. In terms of optimism, digital is coming in a big way. I do a lot of digital ones, and I've seen now, like I said, I've got something doing adapt to that. My children, unfortunately, I have to say, if they ever do become a medic, I have to say, you can't just be a consultant or a GP. You have to be the manager GP or the manager consultant. So if you're a radiologist, you'll get the thousands of robots that will be doing all your scans, and you'll be the one overseeing just to make sure, yeah, that's okay. You're not going to have these doctors who are just sitting there filing and doing things. So I think we need to be ahead of the time. You still need the knowledge that I will keep emphasizing and highlighting, that you still need that basic medical knowledge and become as good as you can in that knowledge. You know, I always wanted to be in a position there where I can never be challenged that, Lavan, what's this new cancer therapy? I don't know everything about it, but I want to have an idea about it. And if I don't, if it's a weakness, I'll become transgender care, ENT, diabetes, CKD, ADHD. If you look at my history, they were all my weaknesses. I was rubbish at it, or I was told by a consultant, you're rubbish at it, or I was told by a consultant, you GPs will never be able to do that. I wanted to make sure I can convince them and myself, I can prove them wrong. And now I speak nationally on various topics around these, and we set up transgender clinics that, you know, MPs come and visit to see what we're doing. You know, I want to create that environment. So always find a way that actually in these opportunities, when there's stresses or difficulties, there is that you got to sit there and take that time out. If it means, like on my on-call day on a Monday, I take 45 minutes to just walk. I leave the on-call and just go, just to think, what am I doing today? What are we doing in this situation? And there'll be a nugget that appears that, oh, I know that contact from before. They said they were potentially can help us, and get them involved. And also, as much as I don't want to get very close to pharma and industry, we have to use their support. They have money. They win. A lot of the projects we do now is they win because they have access to patients. I win because these patients would never be seen otherwise, and these pharma people can actually provide clinics to see our diabetics or so. So we have to think a bit outside the box there. How can we use, you know, industry or people with money without kind of impacting patient care negatively, and, you know, giving data and all of that kind of stuff? So I think AI is the way forward going ahead. You need to skill up to be the best person you can, to the position of, and my ethos is always with everything I do, whether it's my charity work, whether it's my partnership, leadership, or ADHD, or anything like that, is I need to be good enough that they don't want me to go. So in my partnership, I like to think they don't want me to go, because when I come in the building, everything's calm. If there's 100 patients to clear, 100 patients will be cleared. They need to know that I'm capable of that. But also on the flip side, I need to be in a position where I can walk away without caring, as it were. So if today, for example, my partners say, Lavan, you're doing too many things, we can't have you as a partner anymore, I will not be upset. And I mean this genuinely, I will not be upset. I've had a good, lovely run. I've earned well, I've created a nice legacy there. But I don't want to be in a place where I'm not wanted. I want to be a place where I'm wanted. And I should also be in a place where if they don't want me, I should be able to nicely walk away and have other opportunities, my private, my ADHD, or my pharma stuff. So you need to evolve yourself in a position where you're using various tools to be quicker and efficient more than anyone else, i.e. AI, more skilled up than any of your colleagues going to these random conferences, have the best foundational medical knowledge that you can, reading, doing medical school, doing all your rotations while speaking to your consultants, staying late, doing extra hours. And then actually you'll find that things will flourish. And don't chase the money. That's the other most important thing. I trust you, money will come in a ridiculous amount. You don't do it for the money, you do it for helping people. But if you help people to every capability you can, I swear to you, I guarantee you will earn a ridiculous amount of money just based on that. It is hard work. It doesn't just flow in. And then, but you can get in a position where you become clever on how you can attack that. And then you enjoy a good life where then people talk about, oh, it's not about money. Well, yeah, important is money. But when your mortgage is being nicely paid nicely, you're putting your kids through, say, private school, you are a happier person. You can then give yourself up to Africa and do some great work there and then be on boards and things like that.
Amazing. You've touched on so many different things there that I'd love to dig into, but you seem like an absolute encyclopedia of knowledge there. I'd love to question more, but I realize time is running thing. But could I ask just one more question?
Please, of course.
In terms of your career, you've had an illustrious career, and it's still going, of course. But have there been any sort of obstacles or challenges or times where it's been really, really quite difficult that you'd like to share? Has it always been so smooth sailing?
No, definitely not. Yeah, I'm happy to share. The hardest initial point I've ever had, my sister, who was 29 when I was 35, was diagnosed with breast cancer at 29, which was shocking. She's a GP medic. For me, that was difficult as someone who just fixes everything and always been there for family and friends. I couldn't fix it. She's still with us, thankfully. She's alive. She's on wonderful life-changing medication. And I'll always thank the Royal Marsden, and I'll always thank industry and pharma. That's why I'm in so supportive of them, because without them, she wouldn't be here. She had a 25% survival at 5 years, and almost 10 years on, she's still with us. So that was a difficult time. Mother got thyroid cancer at the time, and dad also prostate cancer. So I've got a very heavy breast cancer history, cancer history. But that was difficult, and of course that does break you at times when you're trying to hustle so many things. But this is where the beauty of having partners and friends there for you. So my partners, it wasn't even a question. It was, you're off, you're on full pay for any number of months that you want. And in fact, as a result of all of this, there's something in our contract saying if one of us got ill, we will pay as partners out of our own back full partnership pay for a year without you entering the building. Those kind of things. But that evolved as a result of my family. I didn't take the piss, obviously, with this. I'm very conscious of this. So obviously after a week or two in, as long as I could support my sister, go to appointments, I would come in all the time. They would say, are you in the right mindset? Yes, I wouldn't see breast cancer women because it was emotional, but I do all the other bits. Like, there's so much work to do, as you can imagine, in the background. So that was probably one of the hardest times, when the cancer, family health, so I balance so many things, and I can only see or advise you guys that if something like that happens, when you're juggling so many plates, it can really impact, which is why you need to be juggling all these plates where you have a good enough foundation and friendship with every single thing you work with. Well, I can contact AstraZeneca. They're friends of mine now, Novo Nordisk, Meda, Idorsia, the 5 drug companies I support, or Dr. Thurvan, my psychiatrist. I can literally message them and go, I can't do this now for 6 months. And I know for a fact they'll say, Lavan, do what you need to do. You need to create that relationship. That's one. That was a very tough time. So be mindful of family health. 1 in 2 cancers will come, sicknesses will come, children will come with illness. You've got to be mindful. So make sure there's a little bit of flex there to accommodate that, or have a good network. And the other thing, we had a partnership fallout, sadly, about 4 or 5 years ago. Terrible time, to the point, my YouTube channel was attacked or challenged, and CQC was called on me, and very, very difficult time. It was the majority partners and one difficult partner, but they moved on. But as a result, that was very, very tough. In fact, as much as family health is most important, I found that was even more harder, because actually you got to function every day. You're worried about litigation. You're worried about because it's actually, as you know, with the partnership, it's like a marriage, like a divorce. And you can imagine what a divorce is like, the financial implications. So, we, as a result, I don't think we were paid for almost 7, 8, 9 months, that kind of thing, where if you've got mortgages and family, it can be quite stressful. But, despite all that, I take everything as a learning, even my family illnesses. did that inspire me to, I used to socially smoke here and there just because all my friends did. I never smoke now. Do I drink excessively? No. I watch how much I drink. Do I exercise? I try to exercise 3 times a week. I pay for David Lloyd, happy to pay for that if I don't. So my health has changed as a result of the family cancer. So that's a learning. My family have taught me that it's important. And with friendships, it's important to find and be grateful for the friendships you have and the partnership you have, and be mindful. Part of my thing was, if someone is, try and have people like-minded or visionary like you. Sometimes you can have aggressive people as friends and partners and things, and that's not always helpful, because yes, they could be aggressive when you're fighting the corner for your practice and various things, but that aggression can turn on you one day. So that was a really difficult time, the 2020s. We're out of that, and again, that was the best learning for me, because that person was very dependent on me as a friend and as a partner, and I gave so much. But now I know I will always give everything I have for anyone, but you always still have that very thin lining when it comes to partnerships, where you just never know, and trust things, when it comes to talking about your family and very intricacy about finances, just going to be a bit careful. So very good learning for me. Those were the two biggest points. You get these little other ups and downs, but generally otherwise, and they were very big, earthquakes for me. But am I better for it? Would I let it happen again? Family, yes. I argue probably not, because I don't want my family to be unwell. But certainly the partnership fallout, I needed that. I think I needed a bit of a rewiring, and I'm happy and grateful for it.
I think
okay, carry on. Yes.
Yeah, I think it just makes you realize, though, that you have those ups and downs, but it's the learning that you experience from those kind of things that happen. That's what you need to take away. And I guess it can, like you said, it can be things that happen in your personal life, things that happen in your career. But I guess it's the importance of reflection, and that's how you, I guess, become better. It's that kind of personal growth that helps you reflect on, okay, maybe I should do this differently, or maybe I should approach this differently. And that's how you kind of excel, and continue on. Go ahead, Martin.
Oh, no, I just want to say, no, I'm really glad you could get over, all those things that happened. And I think in a sense, it does seem that it's made you stronger and better off for it, despite it being a horrible circumstance. But yeah, is there any other questions we have? Yes.
I think we can call it there, but finally, Lavan, how can people stay connected with you?
Yeah. So yeah, you're always welcome. I think I've got Imperial Student at the moment. I think it got through LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is probably the better way. Instagram, you're more than welcome to do, but I don't really try to check that as much. I'm trying to be very sensible and conscious about mental health and all that. But the LinkedIn, I always look, because I find it's a much more learning platform, opportunity platform. So if you can get a LinkedIn account, that's probably best. Otherwise, if you are on Instagram, get in touch with Instagram with me. My email address, I mean, you can share it with your group if you want. It's NHS one, l.baskaran@nhs.net. I try to keep that kind of work and colleagues related. So I've got my Hotmail, but probably better to use the NHS. But yeah, NHS email, LinkedIn is probably a good source. And Instagram if you're really struggling, any of those 3 platforms. But I'd happily give advice, so you can come to the practice and see what I do, and anywhere I can help you where you're going to be better, because like I said, I think these things, good karma, you do things to help people, and I can definitely swear by, so many wonderful things have happened to me just because of opportunities I've given for people, and they've kind of reciprocated that back.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for your time today. And I wanted to end it with actually one final question. If you had to look back at yourself, your UCL medic self, what would you say to him, especially knowing where you are now with your diverse career?
And I don't mean this in a comedy sense, but I do wish, I would tell them, please turn up to more of the lectures. You're being taught by such wonderful, international, world-renowned lecturers. Just take that, soak that in, because afterwards you can learn off a book or off a textbook, but it's not going to be the same. So I would say kind of attend more, go on more holidays if it's affordable. So find a job on the weekend. I didn't really work on the weekends, but find a job in the weekend to try and do some holidays when you're young, because when you have kids, as much as it's a wonderful privilege, I wish I'd done a bit more holidays earlier with friends and groups. Just go, all of you go to France, for example, for the day, whatever. So more holidays in that time, and this constant idea of bettering yourself. And I mean that in two ways. One, physically, I wish I'd gone gym. We know now that after 35, you become sarcopenic and it's very hard to maintain muscle. And we know how longevity-wise muscle is important. I wish I did go to gym a bit, but not very much. I wish someone had taught me, Lavan, gym is, you know, the key to living longer, and all the bits that come with it, the sleep when you sleep better and the eating. So that's on a personal level there on physical health, but on that other bit of just conferences or lectures, you know, even as a medical student, you can attend these fancy conferences, group the money together, somehow go to, I don't know, Belgium and listen to an ENT conference or whatever. Do those, because I tell anyone who's struggling to find what is their niche, what is their special interest, what do they want to do, go to a generic conference which has respiratory, cardio, ENT thing. There's lots in America now. They do it in Disney World. There's something called MERC, MERC, Disney World, Hawaii, Washington, Chicago. You can literally go there. Yes, not everything applies to us because it's medicine in America, but you just get blown, you know, mind blown by the wonderful things they can offer. How saunas help reduce cardiovascular risk by 40%. I wouldn't end up buying a sauna because I want to help patients. You know, you can do all these wonderful things. So yeah, I think in that order, I wish I'd turned up. Please turn up to more of the lectures. Not everything, you enjoy clubbing and stuff, but turn up for more of the lectures and listen, because it's a wonderful privilege to do that. Go on more holidays while you're there, and then better yourself either through gym work, eating well, sleep, plus go to conferences and expand your mind so much that when you finally get out the other end, medical school or working, your brain has got all these wonderful connections through networks physically, but also in your mind, that actually you're confident to approach any job and take it, or you're confident to apply for any job and take it, so that you can make this wonderful day where you've got many hours to fit in loads of things, a week, month, and a year, where you can look back every year and say, that was a great year. What am I going to do next year to make it even better?
That's fantastic advice. Thank you so much, Lavan, for your time.
I'll try and make it in tomorrow to my lectures. I'll try my best. Not guaranteeing anything there.
Yeah.